Hi there, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, tonight I'm delighted to be joined by Irish death doom metal band The Crawling. So tonight we've got guitarist, vocalist, all-round good guy, I was told to say that, Andy Clarke. So how are you doing, Andy? How's things with yourself, your family, your friends, since all this COVID nonsense? Everybody been okay?
Yeah, overall, everything's been grand. So a few of us have went down with it, and majority of us got away with it. So, but yeah, it's been grand. We're just obviously slowly but surely moving towards the end of it. It looks like
Yeah.
so.
So what's it like in terms of like pubs and things? Is it still like early closures or?
To be brutally honest, I haven't been out that much of late. There was a lift in sort of restrictions around December time, and we actually managed to sneak a gig in ourselves. And it was looking good. Yeah, no early closures, just go out, drink. It was fine. You know, you didn't have to wear a mask if you were sitting down, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was grand. And then all of a sudden restrictions came back in just after Christmas. And I think it was like supposed to be like a midnight curfew, something like that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of bars, certainly that we would frequent, just decided, do you know what, let's just close the doors for a wee bit.
Yeah. We're of the age anyway. Midnight's long enough for us. We get the last bus home, don't we? Or last train home. We're too old for that kind of carry on now.
As long as I don't start drinking too early, because if I start too early, it's just fuck it, be fine.
The other guys in the band do call you One Can Dan, but never mind. But anyway, we're not here to talk about COVID or any of that nonsense.
No,
we're here to talk
enough.
Yeah, we're here to talk about The Crawling then. So last year you released a single called Sparrow. I'm hoping that this is going to be a prelude to a new release from The Crawling, because I'm right into my death doom metal at the moment. I think it was 2018 you last released an album? Is that right?
Yeah, it was a lot longer than I would have liked now looking back on it, but yeah, it is. It must be coming up to 4 years in November.
So is this a prelude to what you've got coming next?
Yeah, well, it was all these things. We had certain things in place and plans made.
Yeah.
But we had to adapt. So Sparrow was the first track written on the forthcoming album. And we just decided, do you know what, let's put one song out, and did the sort of lyric video thing and a bit of a release for it. But ultimately, yes, that has been the start of the next album.
Anything you would like to share, or are you keeping it secret just
now? Well, it's complicated in that over the lockdown period I had over the last year, I've written a lot of songs.
Okay.
So I kind of thought, in a way, I had the album sitting ready to go. But once I started bringing the songs to practice and really looking back over them, I decided, nah, it's not good enough. It's not really what I wanted them to be. It was weird being completely by myself writing all the music, so I'm not really sure it worked.
Yeah.
So I kind of scrapped them all. We started again. So we finished.
That must have been heartbreaking, though.
Yeah, it's still not something I'm very comfortable with, and I've been going through a very confusing stage of writing at the moment, where I have no idea what's good anymore and what's not.
You're not going to write some Motley Crue influences into your music, are you?
Complete the crew, mate. And it's not just my music. It's like every time I hear like a new band, I'm going, oh yeah, here we go, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro, fuck whatever. I just find myself so uninspired with music at the minute that I just had to go back and rework songs and basically start all over again.
So is your next release always going to be an album? It's always been in your mind, this has to be an album. You're not going to release like 3 or 4 song EP?
I go back and forward with this every time I go to release something. I've been in bands for 25 years. As a classic old school heavy metal fan, the album for me is where it's at.
Yeah.
But also I'm very aware of modern music and how it's consumed and all that shit. So yes, I do go through phases of going, should we just do like singles every 3 months? New single, new video, new t-shirt, and just keep it going and going and going. Yeah. And you see a lot of, especially more modern metal bands doing that.
Yes.
And then I look at it, and then ultimately social media interactions, it's like, where's the album? Where's the vinyl? I want the CD. And it's like, fucking great. Let's just do an album instead.
Cool. But for those that are new to the band then, how would you say How would you say Sparrow compares to your early material and albums? And do you think you found the sound that you've been looking for?
Sparrow, there's just been a continuation of the type of music we do. It's not reinventing the wheel. There's no two ways about it. Death doom metal is death doom metal.
Yeah.
I do feel there's elements of black metal in our
Yes, I
stuff,
heard that.
which I don't know if there's that many death doom bands bring that in. I'm sure there are, but I think there's been more of that creeping into the music the longer we go. And it's
Who
a
would you
nice
say is
balance for
bringing
me.
that in?
I started getting into a lot of like DSBM, that sort of depressive, suicidal black metal stuff, and I think that's filtered through. I've always had a tendency and fondness for it. I just wasn't that aware of that many bands that did it, and then I sort of found a bit of a niche, and I started listening to a lot more of those bands. So I think it's crept in,
Yeah.
in some of the riffs and certainly the lyrics.
Yeah.
So it's the same vein, but it's definitely taken a slight twist with the later stuff.
Yeah.
And I do think over those, like I said, those songs that I wrote over the lockdown, there's a lot of that coming into it. And then when I listened back, I was like, oh, do you know what? Now we're getting too far away from where I want the crawling to go.
Yeah.
Whereas once we get back in the room, started writing together and getting the unit together again, it started to find its path. So
Yeah.
I think I got a bit lost for a while there, but now I do feel that I have a vision of where we want to go again.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. But you've probably been asked this like 101 times, but have you considered like keyboards, violins, or female vocals for the crawling? But what is it makes you keep them out of the crawling?
I deliberately keep the band to a 3-piece, and I keep it a very heavy metal setup because it's easy to record. There's only 3 people to move around. There's only 3 people's calendars, and it will always sound pretty close to how it's supposed to, no matter what the environment. If you go to a big festival, it's just one guitar, a couple of vocals, bass, and drums. It's not hard to mix. If you're playing an absolute shithole and you have to let the amp do the work, you just plug the amp in, turn up the 5150, and it's just bass and drums and just bang it out like a heavy metal band, and that can be very effective as well.
Yeah.
So ultimately it's simplicity. The more things introduce, the more things that go wrong. And yeah, it's just harder to manage.
Yeah, I can totally understand your reasoning. Can't really argue with that. You kind of nailed it for me. I
like the sound of it. I like, big fan of My Darren Bride and the keyboards and violins. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But again, you see it in bands like that, 6, 7 people. They don't tour very often. When they do, there's always standing members. Their turnover of members is always quite high. And you can see the albums twist and turn because of it. So yeah, less is more.
No, I can see your point. But also with everything that's happened over the last 18 months, 2 years then, has it made you look at the more business side of the band as well? Like, has it made you take on roles that you that you wouldn't have done like a couple of years ago, whatever like that? Like keeping the band name out there, merch and all the rest of it?
I don't think so. I definitely have a very business orientated head on for the crawling a lot of the time. Obviously ultimately it's about the music, about the songs, what I'm singing about. But I've always been very conscious of making the crawling as good as it can be with the resources we have available to us. And I've always been a big fan of good merch, good videos, keeping track of what's our plays like, what's working for us, what's not. And I was certainly very conscious of keeping the band afloat when we were in lockdown, because we'd put in so much fucking work over the last 5-6 years, and to have it just disappear because you don't pay attention to the internet would be a bit of a waste. It wasn't easy. That's for sure.
No, I can agree. We've done our bit here as well at Moshville Radio, as you can see behind. Like I've played Wolves in the Hideous White before, well, a couple of times actually. And I've started to play Sparrow as well. So see, I'm getting it right now. So yes, we'll certainly do a bit here. And I know that you've done quite a few interviews and articles in Moshville Times. So you're quite friendly with us over here. So
yes, no, absolutely. And literally Moshville have been with us since we kind of hit the scene, and especially since we started the UK, going back to, I think it was it 2016, 2017 when we did Bloodstock. Moshville did the Road to Bloodstock stuff, and featured us and played the tracks. So yeah, it's ongoing.
Well, you see, we'll keep you there. We'll keep you in mind. But with the recording of Sparrow, then will there be anything that you'll do differently with your next release? And what would you say you learned most from the recording?
Well, I record our own stuff basically, and have done since the beginning. So I'm always making small changes as we go along. I would like to get the drum kit into a decent drum room,
Okay.
and really get a better drum sound. Just capture a bit more of what the actual kit sounds like.
Would you have
So
to do
that would
things
be
like move your
what I'd like to
model
do.
cars in the background there? Is that legal?
That's it. Hey, that's my frog. That was my lockdown project. 1982 radio control car restoration. uh,
Excellent.
so yeah, so I'd like to get the drums into a proper acoustically sounding room rather than the rehearsal space.
You say that you do everything yourself. Is that not a hell of a lot of pressure on yourself? Would you not welcome like contributions from other guys as well? Or are you quite happy to take everything on?
Happy, is that a word? I'm not familiar with happy when it comes to music. um, it's a double-edged sword. Anyone that knows me in any facet will tell you I'm a complete control freak. So that lends itself to me doing a lot of things.
Because just from what you said like 2 minutes ago, like you pretty much wrote the next album and then you just went, nah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
putting yourself
I don't
through
know.
that, you know?
Yeah, and that's weird. That was not normal. I would very rarely just throw that many songs away. As no, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would love to work with a producer, and I would like the band to have more time together in the room writing the songs. But the long and short of it is, it just lengthens the process, and our lives don't really facilitate, practicing 2 and 3 times a week. It just can't
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah. So how far away from each other are you?
Stuart and I live in the same town, and the drummer's only half an hour up the road, so we are very, very close. But it's the
Yeah.
usual jobs, shift work, families, all that sort of
And you
stuff.
don't really like them that much anyway, do you? You don't
Not
really
really,
see them.
not really at all.
Aye. So you talked about that you do everything yourself then. So no, you've kind of answered that question really, to be honest with you. So with yourself being the vocalist of the band then, do you do all the lyrics for the songs, or do you welcome contributions from other band members, or do you put that pressure on yourself as well for the
The lyrical stuff I don't find as pressurizing as everything else. I've always been a great believer of like the singer should write the lyrics, because
Yeah.
Lyrics to me are very personal. They're a very important part of heavy metal music that I listen to. I've always enjoyed lyrics, which is why I struggle with more comedic bands. I've never really been a big fan of that sort of comedy metal,
Yeah.
just for that reason. It's just not why I like heavy metal. And I think if you mean something that you're writing and you're singing it, it needs to be your voice and your mind that's saying the words and getting into it. So
Yeah.
I'm always quite surprised by singers that can deliver lyrics they didn't write.
Yeah.
It's funny because I recently watched that Elton John thing, because I know nothing about Elton John, and he had that guy that wrote all the words, and I just thought that was insane. That
He,
I don't know. Sorry, my history's terrible. I don't know what you call your guy who wrote all his lyrics, but that was fucking
Elton
mind
John
blowing.
didn't write his own lyrics.
Nope, he didn't write his own lyrics. He had a guy that wrote all the lyrics for him, and he just put the piano to it, and then released all these massive hit singles with
Wow.
words that were written by somebody else, and he's worked with the same guy for his entire career.
Yeah.
Doesn't write his own words.
So see, when you get to the studio then, do other guys say, right, I see what you're trying to say here with lyrics, but maybe if you take that out, put this in, is that when they contribute to it? But you write 99% of it?
No,
You're going to say no here. What I say goes.
Basically, no. I get a free rein with the music, with the lyrics and recording the vocals, because I do it by myself. The guys aren't there. You mean recording an album, or even the single there? The drummer and I recorded the drums together, and then Stuart recorded the bass on his own in his house and sent it over. But again, that was sort of lockdown related rather than anything else.
Yeah.
But no, I like to do the lyrics and the singing completely by myself, and I would listen back to it and see what's working and what doesn't. I would always send them the lyrics, and we would demo to a very high level, so the guys can hear it to make sure there's nothing mental happening they don't like. But so far, minimal
So
changes.
who mixed and mastered the Sparrow for you? Did you do it all yourself?
Everything was done by me on that one.
Cool. Is that something that you're going to do with the next album as well?
So, we've been talking about that lately. I've actually done an upcoming video on this. I'm going deaf in one ear.
Right. Okay.
So my left ear is not working very well, which is me, or sorry, it's my right ear's not working well. It's my left ear. It's all I can hear when I wear headphones. So I'm having problems mixing now.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to deal with that yet, because obviously when you start going into studios, it gets very expensive.
Yes. And also somebody else is controlling the buttons, not you.
Yeah. Well, it would have to be somewhere that was going to work for me. But again, I'm not sure what the finances involved in it. And
Yeah.
I have someone who would love to do it, but I have no idea how much it would cost. Probably a clean fortune.
Yeah.
I'm probably a million miles away from it.
Well, I don't know if your ambitions are that high, but I interviewed Dan Swano, and he actually puts his that very question I asked him, with his reputation, does he think that bands just automatically think, no, he's too expensive for me? And what actually he does is he puts all his prices on his website. So maybe it's an idea to have a look at his website and see if he is in your budget.
It's something that I've never looked at it before, because I'd say when I started playing when I was 17, 18, like recording was just impossible. It was so expensive. And I have that mentality in my head. And then I got into my own recording, and then I was like, well, do you know what? No one's ever really complained about the production. And effectively just cost me my time, and that enables the money to go elsewhere, which has helped the band maybe more than having a pro studio production. But I genuinely would like the experience. I've never been in a proper studio. I would love just to go in and play guitar and sing and let somebody else make it sound awesome.
Well, do you know, you almost raised a smile when you were talking about this. So I think it's something that you should do. It's obviously making you excited talking about it. So
it is. It's only because I'm going to try and talk Peter Taggart and opening the Abyss Studios.
Wow.
That is the plan. I'm just not sure if it's even doable or if that can happen. But
can only ask, can't you? The worst that can happen.
It's one of those bucket lists. There's two things that I thought about doing over the next couple of years, and it's because I'm getting older and there's things I wanted to do in the band, because the band is just something you get to do to really enjoy. And it was a proper nightliner tour for a couple of weeks across Europe, or get Peter Taggart to record the Crawling album. So
who the hell knows? You might get to do both. So get it done, and I'll be watching.
I need to get a vinyl out as well, because people keep bugging me about that.
Well, I was going to talk about vinyl later on. I'll keep that for later on then.
Okay.
But now, where would you guys get to rehearse? So if you guys have got we're going to talk about gigs later on, but where do you guys record and practice?
The drummer has his own studio, kind of. It's a converted garage, basically.
Okay.
So we are able to practice there. So it's great. Everything's permanently set up. And
does he not have 10 ASBOs against them or anything like that?
Yeah, we have to be cautious of the noise levels, but so far so good. We don't rehearse too much, to be honest. We're not with a band that do week in, week out, every Tuesday or every Friday. If we've something to do, if songs to write, we'll start rehearsing, or if we've gigs coming up, we'll start rehearsing. It's not something I enjoy terribly, I have to say. Your standard practice of doing the same songs over and over again without a reason.
I meant to say, when we were talking about your lyrics there and you being the vocalist, you obviously, when you're writing the lyrics, you picture how you're going to sing them. But over the last 18 months, 2 years, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. So how did you keep your vocals in check?
Well, there was two things. I demo everything, as I say, with drum machine, and then I would put the two guitars down, throw down a dummy bass, and then I would record a vocal, and I would go through 2 or 3 different variations of a vocal plus all the backing vocals. So I did that for, as I say, 10 songs worth. So it was a lot of vocals. And actually over lockdown, I started a small side project, which is just me by myself, getting rid of a lot of black metal-ish sort of stuff.
Okay.
And I did 7 songs of it. And again, all vocals and different vocals. So actually, I got a lot of practice singing over lockdown, believe it or not. I think my guitar suffered more than anything else.
So that's at least one positive then with the lockdown. Then it just got you to, well, I was going to say pick up the guitar, but you're just after saying that you didn't.
No, guitars are just something for me to get my music out and play gigs and play live. I'm not a very good guitar player, and I'm just not into it. You know what I mean? But I like being in a band. I like what the guitar enables me to do.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be. I could not touch the guitar for 2 or 3 months at a time if I wasn't doing anything.
No, I just wondered if you practice singing in the shower or when you're in the car or something like that, you know. So, but you've been signed to the growing grind scene records, I think. What's Basement Torture Killings? They're signed with them as well.
Yeah, BTK were on it. Fetal Juice were on it originally. Your mates, you'd know them. The name escapes me. Death metal band. They were huge. It's from Scotland. Paul McGuire's guitar, Solomon on the vocals.
Scordatura?
No, it was way Cerebral Bore.
Ah, yes, Christ. I wonder
Cerebral Bore started on Grind Scene Records as well, and obviously ended up in Earache or whatever it was somewhere on.
Yeah, and now look where they are. They aren't anywhere.
Nope.
Shame, absolute shame. But yeah, so you've been signed to the Growing Grind Scene Records then. So how did that come about? How's the relationship been so far, and what do you hope Grind Scene will bring to the crawling?
Well, we can make this very simple. Peter Clarke is the owner of Grind Scene Records, and he's my wee brother. So, yeah, he did me a good turn, to be honest. Grind Scene has always done very well, as you say. All those great bands that put out Desecration. Who else did he put out? A couple of other big ones not that long ago. Extreme Noise Terror.
Wow.
Good. So he has got a lot of distribution channels, and even though we don't really fit their ethic, I was like, yeah, well, I need you to put my CD out because I need his distribution channels. And
as long as you charge your friends and families rates, you know.
Yeah. Well, what started off as him doing me a good turn, now I just keep getting texts of I need another CD. I need another CD to send out, and I've yet to get any money from it. And I'm fairly sure we're propping up the digital end of it as well. So yeah, it's give and take, you know. So no, Pete's really good to us, and he lets us keep all our CDs in storage with all his distributors and stuff because there's fees involved in that, you know. And it gives us plastic head distribution through Code 7, so it's great. And because he's my brother, I do help him with the label occasionally on the digital side of things, so I get to log into the back end and see what's going on with us. So it gives me a real insight into what's actually happening with the crawling, digitally speaking.
Yeah.
You know,
excellent.
It's good. Two-way street.
Exactly. But one important aspect of the band is the willingness to put out music videos to accompany any releases. It's quite funny. I spoke to a band at the weekend and they were saying it's about the cost and they don't know whether they'll put out a video for their album. But you guys already have numerous videos under your belt. Is this something that you're going to keep on doing?
Yes, I think, again, it's one of those things with the crawling. I want to do things that I enjoy from bands, and music videos are fantastic. I love the YouTube wormhole of load of cans, people in the room. You know, we call it the YouTube game. What do you want next? What do you want next? And it's music videos is probably one of the most popular ways I listen to music now. You know, so yes, it is absolutely something we're going to continue with. But I appreciate if we didn't have the contacts that I have, it would be unaffordable to do what we do. But my wife's a photographer, and you know, video photography, a lot of crossover, a lot of the equipment's the same. So I ruined her happiness and made her learn to shoot music videos. And I learned to edit them, so we can do it.
You've certainly got a musical family. Brother's got a record label. The wife's got a videography and takes your photos.
You know, exactly.
Either that, your cheapskates. Your cheapskates.
Well, you know, it is that because, as I say, I've been in bands for a long, long time, and I suppose it's a bit like any relationship. If you can remove the financial pressures, it just enables you to be, you know, just do what you want to do. It's the same with our tour and stuff like that. You know, if I can keep the costs where no one's going, oh, fuck me, Andy's got another tour booked, fucking hell. You know, and then that's when stress starts and you don't enjoy it and you think, do you know what, this isn't for me anymore. So if you can keep that out, then everything else is just play music.
I do have to ask though, like the video for Wolves in the Hideous White, you started the video during the day, but by the time you finished the video, it was bloody nighttime. So how many times did you play the song, or was that you just played it once for like 12 hours?
I think we started a wee bit later than we anticipated, and it took about 3 hours to shoot, so it kind of got dark, and then we just thought, Fuck it, nobody will notice. So thanks for that.
No, I like that though. I liked it a lot. So as it's been a difficult 18 months then for bands to not playing gigs, did you think about doing a virtual gig, like just I don't know, like doing a gig in rehearsal studio or something like that, or setting up somewhere and just playing for 40 minutes or something?
At the very start, obviously we didn't know how long it was going to last, and I was adamant under no circumstances was I doing a live stream, because live is what I do music for. It is the best thing about it for me, but it's about being that close to people and seeing the whites of their eyes and you know, just the environment of a heavy metal show. So doing it without that, and I was like, this isn't our job. We don't need this. So I said, definitely not.
Yeah.
18 months later, it was like, fucking hell, anything. So we had, it's funny you talk about the Hideous White video, because like I say, few cans, that's always when our creative juices start flowing.
That's
and
tradition.
I had decided, was there a way that we could set up like some sort of stage thing outside and then film it and just play like a 40-minute set with various cameras, and could we stream it? Do you record it and just release it? And yeah, the more I thought about it, it was just, it all became very problematic. And then the whole peaks and troughs of, you can hang out with your mates, you can't, you know, you're allowed 2 people in the house, and there was none. And it was like, oh, do you know what, by the time I get all this organized, you know, gigs will be back.
It's a shame that you don't have the budget like Behemoth or even Ingested. I saw their video, it was superb, but the drummer, it wouldn't bother the drummer so much, or the guitarist or whatever like that. But I think doing a virtual gig or playing to an empty room would affect you the most, because you're the one that has the camaraderie with the punters, you know, and just saying thank you. All right, okay. It must do.
Yeah, because I've watched a few live streams. I did Lord of the Lost. Who else did one that I watched? Cradle of Filth did a really good one. Watched the Behemoth one, and you know, they're all professional performers. You know,
as are you,
for a long time. Well, I think they're just a bit more used to really putting it on. You know, really doing it. I guess we could have done it, but yeah, I watched a couple and I thought it was great, but it was also a bit weird.
Yeah,
I think, didn't Obituary do one? I thought it was a bit peculiar.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I watched it.
I think they done it for each album.
Yes, they did. That's right. I didn't think it was as good as some of the other ones that I saw. He just seemed to be doing his normal thing, but then catching himself on and being, this is fucking weird. You could see him nearly go to talk to people and there was no one there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, do you know what? It feels a wee bit.
I know. So maybe you were right. Maybe you made the right decision. But forward in time now, with doors beginning to open again, they're slightly ajar now and they're beginning to open again. Do you have any gigs in the pipeline? What do you have coming up? Is there anything you're allowed to share? Is it going to be festival appearances, or you've got other gigs?
We have other gigs that I probably should have had prepared somewhere, that I have a list of what we're doing.
I know.
Do you know what I'm playing?
Yeah, I know that you're heading down to Birmingham, aren't you?
Yes, we are. I can't even remember what dates are. I'm just going to pull them up now, so as I know what I'm doing. Yes, we.
I believe this. I done my prep.
I know. I haven't even got a beer ready. Right. Oh, gigs, you say? Yeah, I have a full list of what I'm doing here.
I'll edit it out. Don't worry.
I know. All joking aside, we started working lately with James Loveday from the Distortion Project, Belfast promoter and very good friend of mine, and it was all getting very difficult to manage gigs and tour dates, so I got him to help, which has been great, which is why I don't know what the dates are. So Thursday is 17th of March, we're heading over Oldham, and then the 18th is Nottingham, and the 19th is Bristol of March.
Cool.
So that's our next run, and then we have tour with Winterfellith in Ireland, and that starts 11th of June, 11, 12, 13. I think it's Limerick, Dublin, Belfast.
Are you playing DC Sound Attack as well?
Yes, we've started planning a tour in September, October time. So he's Dan Carter's been heavily involved in that. In
I
fact,
knew this. I knew this.
Oh, no,
Just checking if you knew it.
That hasn't been released yet. So yes, I actually only got confirmation last night that the whole tour has been completely finalized. So that's September, October time, but I generally don't have all the details of that one yet.
Yeah. What about a wee bit closer to hometown for me? Have you got anything coming up in Scotland?
Edinburgh, I think, later in the year. Again, not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere.
Who's your manager?
Actually,
That's right, it's you.
that's it. No, I have a manager. I've okay with this, because he booked the ferries and all the accommodation and all the shows and negotiated all the fees, and it was fucking brilliant. Because if there's one thing I hate doing, it's booking gigs. It's the only thing I fucking can't stand is booking shows. I hate it. So,
well, good stuff
yes.
then. Good.
Are you Glasgow, aren't you?
I'm Glasgow, yeah.
I don't think we had never played Glasgow. I've done Edinburgh before. It was very good. Glasgow.
I mean, to be honest with you, both cities have good scenes and numerous venues that you can play. Sometimes, though, if you play Glasgow and Edinburgh as well, you can split the crowd because people from Edinburgh would come over and Glasgow would go over there as well.
Yeah, we had that conversation sort of in my own head a few times about, because Belfast and Dublin are only 90 miles apart.
Okay.
But the crowds very rarely cross over. You can play Belfast on Friday and play Dublin Saturday, and no one would really travel.
Yeah.
But I mean, Glasgow and Edinburgh, I'm not even sure how far apart is Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Well, 35 miles.
Is that all?
35 miles.
Is shit. It's not even the same argument actually. So forget that. Because yes, actually, we played Opium in Edinburgh. Do you know it?
Yeah.
The venue.
Yeah.
And it's honestly one of my favorite shows to date. Out of everything we have done, I had such a great night in Opium. It was brilliant.
Were you across the road in Bannerman's as well? Did you get a couple of pints?
No, we haven't played there yet. I think that's maybe what we're doing next time.
Yeah, Bannerman's is a great venue as well. Highly recommended. But also, I say to bands as well, if you do have the time and the expense, places like Aberdeen, Inverness, even Dundee, but I would say Aberdeen and Inverness.
I've heard of Aberdeen being done before. No, I haven't heard of Inverness now. But if mates that have been over and they've went as far over,
because people north of Glasgow and Edinburgh have to travel to Glasgow and Edinburgh for gigs. Even places like they come down from Aberdeen, so they're just screaming for gigs. So it's usually well attended up there. So.
No, that's good.
Something to consider. But listen, I thank you very much for your time. I've only got a couple of questions left for you, if that's okay.
Hit me. This is like a rapid fire bit.
Because you were cheeky earlier, this is one of the curveballs. No. Before the internet, magazines and fanzines were the places to find out about new bands and trends, but now publications have been replaced with thousands of websites catering for all genres. So do you think that some of the passion's been lost, or do you think the internet's been a good thing for music and a good thing for the crawling?
That's a huge question, that one.
It is. I just told you it would get you.
Yeah, no. I'm not sure. I think the thing nowadays is when it comes like the passion of doing these things is that it's a lot more visible what everyone's doing. Like when I was growing up, it was fanzines and tape trading and all that. And there was a lot of effort involved in it. And it was, you only got lunatics involved in that sort of stuff. Putting together a fanzine in 1995 was like, how could you be arsed doing that?
Yeah.
And I'm not taking away from modern journalism, but it's easier to type something and make it into a website than it is to cut out logos and photocopy them and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's at the same time, people maybe felt that was too difficult to do, even though they had a passion for it. Now, if you've any sort of passion or idea about doing something, you can just go and do it, and it is more accessible.
Yeah.
So more or less, I don't know. I think there's always been people that are into it, and always people that necessarily aren't into it as much.
The thing that is, because I tape trading and all the rest of it is, grew up in an age where CDs should be burned out. It was cassettes and vinyl, but nowadays, though, when you've got your streaming stuff like Bandcamp or whatever like that, you can look in your analytics and see that you've got friends in Indonesia, Mexico, and all these weird and wonderful places that you wouldn't have been able to reach that 20 years ago, whatever, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that has advantages as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. Was it more passionate? It kind of feels to me like it was. There was the ones that did it further ago were maybe it was only passionate people. I think now there's maybe more of a slightly scaled mix. Those that are still absolutely mental, the guys like yourself that, get involved in this sort of stuff, the guys that run the web scenes and fanzines, because running an online fanzine, Jesus, that's monumental. Like,
Yeah,
I know a couple of guys that do it, and I just think, how do you do that?
yeah. Uh,
You can't be that passionate about everything, Um, so
Ian Purdy, he certainly, I see the amount of emails that Moshville Times get every day, and it's absolutely frightening.
it's
If only,
biblical.
if only this could be your Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job, but unfortunately, there's no money in it, as well as being in the
No,
band.
yeah.
So,
So
hey ho.
yeah, yeah, it's a weird one. So what else are we talking about then? Streaming, passion, what else?
Yeah, I think also like if you go to like Bandcamp or something like that, and you play, I've never heard of this band. I'll press play, 10 seconds, and instantly dismiss the band. Whereas back in the good old days, you put £1 in an envelope, send it away, get it back, get a cassette, listen to it. Don't know if I like it, I'll listen to it. But because you've invested in it, you would listen to it again and
Yeah.
again, and then make up your
I've
mind.
been saying that for years. There's albums that I have that, as you say, when you first get it, you think, this is not what I thought I was buying, because you judge it on the cover, because that's how you bought CDs back in the day,
Yeah,
But you know what? As you say, you've paid 15.99 for it back in 1997, which was a clean fucking fortune,
yeah,
and you fucking listen to it, you listen to it,
yeah.
and
You
then
find
like all
something
these
good in it.
things. Yeah, and well, do you know that again? It's coming back to sort of writing songs and listening to songs over the last year or two. All the majority of music released is good music,
Yeah,
but you have to invest in it. You have to give music time, especially in doom death metal. Like, you don't stick on My Damn Bride and go, "Ah, new single's a banger." You know, it's like, you put it on. You need to sit down and listen to it and ingest it.
yeah,
And modern listening doesn't really lend itself to that. And I suffer from it as well.
yeah,
New album comes out and you think, I really must go and listen to the new whatever album. I think it really hit me with Carcass, because I was a big Carcass fan in the 90s,
yeah.
and they've released so much music that I didn't even know about. I'm with mates going, "Did you check out the new Carcass album?" And I'm like, "Surgical Steel?" I'm like, "What?" It's like 3 out since then. And I listen to it and I'm going, yeah, it's Cracker, sounds like Carcass, whatever. And it's like, but when I actually sit down and started listening to it, I think one of the EPs I took, and I was like, that's really good, actually. I just
Yeah,
didn't pay attention, didn't invest in it. It's too easy to skip over stuff now. It's
yeah, definitely.
disappointing.
And it's still anything before necrotism for me. But anyway, that's another subject of
Oh.
conversation. We'll have that conversation over a pint. We'll have that conversation over a pint. But yeah, you talked about vinyl as well. Then I don't know if this is maybe like the start of something. Yes, okay, we will do a vinyl release. Yes, okay. Do you know what more bands are doing now? It's they're doing a small run of cassettes, even if it's 50 or 100. Here's one I made earlier, right? Swine, you put me on
Yeah.
the spot there.
How did you not know about all our albums are now out in cassette? Yeah, no, the cassette thing's been great fun. I fucking love it. When I
Yeah,
was a kid, the Walkman thing was just amazing.
yeah,
And we did a release show for the Wolves album on cassette. Did really well. We did Sparrow on cassette, and people were buying them. And then whenever we managed to snatch a gig in December in Belfast, and it was like, right, everyone, let's learn Anatomy of Loss, the first album, and we'll do a cassette release show. And
yeah,
it was brilliant.
yeah.
People just had it up, and
That's the
kids just
thing. Because again, we're talking about the internet. There's access to millions of bands now, so you have to do something a wee bit different than what they're doing to get noticed. And just doing a wee 50, I run a 50 limited edition orange cassettes or whatever like that gets
yeah. Well,
noticed.
I remember someone telling me a long time ago, and I don't know who it was. It might have been my mate, the promoter, and he just said, if you're gonna do anything, it has to be something.
Yeah,
That was it. And
yeah,
I was just it's always stuck with me. I was like, everything has to be an event, and it's what you make it. So every time we do something, we try and make it an event of sorts.
yeah,
If it's coming over to England or Scotland, it's a tour. We're touring something. We're going to bring something with us that we don't have anywhere else. And if we do a show at home, it's like, oh, it's about this, like the cassette release or a single or
yeah,
new T-shirt design, just something. So it's not just, yeah, they're play in the local bar again, you know.
Well, listen, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But
Likewise,
before I let you go, we could probably talk for another hour on this, because
Easy.
I'm going to ask for your guitar setup. What's your guitar of choice? What pedals, pickups, amps do you use and things?
Okay, I've spent a long time over the last 18 months. This is something that's been top of my list. My goal, just to show you where this comes from, my goal is always to make something that I can take on an airplane that is the same as what I use when I play a local venue.
Okay.
So ideally, I use a 5150, which is a 27 kilogram fucking full valve head, which is a nightmare. So, and I had a big pedal, well, not a big pedal board, but I had a pedal board that was quite complicated and a wee bit heavy. So, I have streamlined it, and my rig is now hand luggage based.
Wow.
So, I have my guitar, which is an ESP Eclipse, is my go-to, or my Gibson Les Paul Studio.
Do you have it behind you?
I do indeed. Do you want to see
Let's go for it. Shows it then.
Let's see.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's my ESP Eclipse. That's lovely.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely.
Good guitar.
Because I noticed in a couple of your videos, your guitars were all black. There you go.
That's
Very nice.
Les Paul.
Beautiful.
So those have been my go-to guitars, and pedal-wise, I'm now just using. I finally.
Sorry, will you take both of those guitars on tour with you then, in case you break a string or something? And you go, my string's broke.
Well, if I was doing a really big show, like when we played Bloodstock, I took the ESP and the Les Paul. For your average shows where I can't keep track of all our equipment as well as I'd like, I would bring a lesser value guitar as a backup and just keep the ESP as my main guitar.
Cool.
You know. Cool. Pedal wise, as I say, I used to have all the digital or all the analog pedals and all that stuff, and I've recently gone down to a digital unit, the Boss GT Core.
Okay.
Which is just a 3-button. All I really have it is in the effects loop of my amp, and I use reverb and delays and a couple of other bits and pieces, and that's it. And amp wise, I recently got a Victory Kraken.
So you treated yourself, did you?
I see the wife did. She bought me for Christmas. It's fucking legendary. So I now have a 50-watt full valve amp based on the 5150, but it only weighs 7 kilos, and it's like in a wee lunchbox sort of format. So I've used it big venues, small venues, and it's just great. Yeah. It's a bit sad leaving the 5150 behind, to be honest. But the Kraken sounds exactly the same, and it's just smaller and easier to use. So it means if I jump on a plane, I can put the amp, hand luggage, guitar with my wee pedal board in the flight case in the hold, and I'm turning up, bringing a valve amp to every gig. It's perfect.
Can't argue with that. But
prefer real pedals, but the digital one's pretty good.
Yeah. Also, with you being the vocalist, then have you went through like a range of microphones and you've came across one that you like the sound of, or you just give me an SM58 and I'll just sing it? I'll grow in.
No, the live vocal thing, we do bring quite a lot of things to shows. Well, not a lot, but by the time you start carrying backdrops, side fills, we bring our own lights on occasion. Just small things that sort of add to the show. And bringing even more stuff, I'm just like, oh, fuck it. Well, soundmen know what they're doing. They know what they're getting. Me turning up with some weird microphone that's going to complicate their lives, I don't really want to do that. Yeah. So soundman gives you this. As far as I'm concerned, he knows his job better than I do. So whatever. Well, SM58 never goes wrong.
Well, that might be the live front, but what about in yourself when you practice?
In rehearsal, don't care. It's just rehearsing. At home, if I'm recording, I recently got actually the mic I'm using today, which is the Rode Procaster, and it's brilliant for vocals. It's like a poor man's a Shure SM7B, but it's great, really good microphone. So it's my new favorite mic for singing in the house.
Much to your wife's annoyance.
Put me off buying a £500 mic, so I'm totally happy about it.
No, good stuff. Listen, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I certainly hope it won't be the last. If you're doing an EP or an album, we'll certainly be in touch and we'll find out more about the recording and things like that, but this won't be the last time that we'll chat. So wish you guys the best of luck and hope to see you in the flesh one day very soon.
Thank you very much. Hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, cheers, Andy.